All righty. Well, Kathy, do a roll call, please.
You got it. Saban.
Present.
Bartleson.
Yes, here.
Deskin.
You're waving
Here.
myself.
Bergbauer.
Here.
Galogly.
Here.
McDonald.
Here.
Hugh.
Present.
Sheehan.
Here.
We have a quorum.
All right. Now, normally we have our police chaplain open us in prayer, but I don't think Ernest is here yet.
Here he is.
He's here. My man. Come on in, Ernest. Just walk straight up and open this up, man. He's still huffing and puffing.
Yeah, I got to catch my breath. I'm 50 years old now. I read this here. Forgive my tardiness, everybody. Please pray with me. Mighty Father, first I just say thank you. Thank you for your grace and your mercy, your unfailing love. Thank you for watching over our city and protecting us. Thank you, Father God, and I ask you to lead and guide us. Your word says, all thy ways acknowledge you, and you will direct our path. We're looking to you tonight to lead and guide us. In the name of Jesus, amen.
Amen. Wow. All right, thanks, Ernest. Perfect time. All right, my friends. Lots going on tonight, as we can see. But we'll start off with what we do for our liaison reports. Has anybody got anything they want to talk about up here?
Yeah, I've got something from finance. The auditors are here today and tomorrow, and then Lisa tells me that as part of the audit, they'll be sending a letter out to all the council members too. So when you get it, make sure you look at it, and that'll be it.
I just one comment. Public Works, I want to thank you for the wonderful job you did plowing our streets last Friday with the storm. I do want to admit I did receive some complaints. That was a very heavy and wet snow. If you actually went out and shoveled it, you know that for sure. Most of the complaints were about broken mailboxes. I just wanted to advise people, and people are saying, would you have the truck slow down? Well, it's a double-edged sword. The trucks really can't slow down to push that kind of heavy snow, so they have to keep the speed up to get it moving. So just a reminder, if we did break your mailbox, you can go on to Lockport's website. We do pay for it to be replaced, so we apologize for any problems, but thank you, Public Works, for getting it cleared for us.
It took care of a couple of bad water main breaks in that cold, too, so that's tough work. But thank you.
I've got an item for the police department. Police department's 4-year ILEAP, that's the Illinois Law Enforcement Accreditation Program. Audit was just completed. We have with us today Chief Mark Mayton, who is the Vice President for the Illinois Association of Chiefs of Police and also the Police Chief in Lamont. And he's here to present the plaque to our department.
Well, thank you. Good evening, Mayor Streit, Village Manager Benson, and Chief Harang. I'm Mark Mayton. I'm currently the first Vice President of the Illinois Association of Chiefs of Police, and thank you for inviting me in to join you tonight in presenting this honor to the Lockport Police Department. This is their second accreditation for a Tier 1 Law Enforcement Accreditation Award. The Illinois Chiefs created this program about 10 years ago as a way to help police departments really demonstrate to their communities an unwavering commitment to achieve high professional standards. And really, more than anything, it's a demonstration to the board and the community that they're following national best practice standards, policies, and procedures, and that the auditing process that they go through to get this award tests whether the department is operating in compliance with those standards and if they're actually doing what they say they're doing in their policies. There's lots of benefits to accreditation: improved police effectiveness, identification of problem areas, development of documentations of performance, decreased insurance premiums, which I know you all like, decreased liability, and more importantly, it's a demonstration to the community that the police department is a high professional functioning organization. To achieve Tier 1, the department had to demonstrate compliance with 90 69 professional standards covering 4 critical areas of administration, operations, personnel, and training. And it requires a department-wide effort and to a commitment to organizational excellence. Chief Harang and Sergeant Fatako led the team that spent months preparing for the assessors to review the department's policies and reports. And the assessment team also spent 2 days on site observing the members of the police department, conducting interviews with community members, and participating in ride-alongs. And this third-party review ensures that the accrediting organizations do what they say they do to serve and protect their communities. So once accredited, the agency will receive that accreditation for 4 years, and then you'll do it all over again. So on behalf of the Illinois Association of Chiefs of Police, congratulations to Chief Harang and Sergeant Fatako and the entire Lockport Police Department for achieving the 2023 Tier 1 ILEAP accreditation. So I have it.
Well done, man.
Good job, guys.
All right, anything else for liaisons?
Yes, but we're going to wait.
We're going to, just for a second?
For Angela?
Okay. All right, so if we're all good there, so Angela Adolph from the high school is here to just give us some updates on the upcoming referendum for Central Campus.
Hi, I'm actually here just to kind of keep our community informed. I'm a member of this community, big fan of the community also, and happen to work as a proud member of the administration at Lockport Township High School. We are in the midst, actually right now, of conducting tours at Central. People, I think, are curious about what it looks like. If you've never seen it, it's an interesting time to go because some of the ceilings are exposed to the 1913 version of air conditioning, which has meant really tall ceilings. So we are in the process of that. They will be going out to bid relatively soon to start the process with fixing that. That is a separate issue from the referendum. The referendum, the school board put that out to the voters. It'll be on the ballot in March. And we are hosting numerous conversations about that in the community. We'll be doing online forums and things like that. People can just go online and find out that information. I often tease that, you know, you can't always find everything you want to know when you do a quick Google search. The school is interested in sharing everything we possibly can. If you want a meeting with the architects, they come to our meetings. Like we are happy to provide as much information as we possibly can to do what's in the best interest of everyone that lives in our community.
Okay.
So and if you guys have specific questions, we are mostly interested in answering those. Like, so we'll start to put out like a frequently asked questions so that we can address that on our own website, or you can always call. But if there's something I can take back, I'm happy to do that now and we can return that. Or again, Dr. McBride is super easy to get a hold of. He wants to answer these questions. Is that it?
All good?
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Angela,
Okay,
appreciate it.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thanks, Angela.
All right, so one of the cool things for you peewees out there is having Pat Sheehan now on our city council, right? So Pat came up to me and says, man, they did something really extraordinary and we wanted to know if we could recognize them. So absolutely. So Coach Pete and Stephanie, if you guys can come up to the podium, I appreciate it. And Pat, come on down too. This is. All right, you two. So, if you don't mind, coaches, if you guys could just come up and talk a little bit about what happened, what you guys won. Just please come on up. So, talking to the microphone, though.
I won't go over, I'll spare you the details. I won't go over everything. I want to thank the city council for bringing us here and bringing us on board. Thank you to Pat Sheehan for letting us get recognized here in front of Lockport. We're very proud to be the stewards of this fine town, and we want to be able to present the best of what Lockport has to offer. For the football side, the 11U team over here, the boys in black, they ended up winning the regional championship, Mid-America for D3. We had our first, this is the back-to-back, so we had state championship, which was hard fought against the Junior Celtics of New Lenox. We went into triple overtime when we were there in Elmhurst, and we won with the final score. I can't remember, I don't even know if we knew what the final score of it was, but we definitely won. The boys did tremendous. It was an all-out effort. And then from there, they went to Indiana and faced the Michigan representative, Next Level Athletics, and they ended up winning there. And so now they're back-to-back champions from 2022 and 2023.
Our cheer team did just as good as football. I couldn't have asked for a better team. We pushed and pushed and pushed them really hard all season and had a lot of fun along the way. We did win the state championship, and we were also grand champions of that, which means we got the highest score of the entire morning session competition. And then we went on to win the regional championship again. We did not get grand champions this year. We did last year, but that's something to shoot for again next season. I couldn't be more proud to be a part of this program and to have grown it for the last 9 seasons, and can't wait to see what next season has to offer. So.
Bring all your,
Yeah, we'll do cheer first.
We're going to cheer coaches as
yeah,
well.
we're not going to go through this.
Now, did Pat tell you that you have to do a cheer?
We're missing the mats.
No mats? All right.
Yeah.
So she's gonna take the picture.
We're really plenty of pictures. Okay.
Come on, Pat. Not even one cheer? Yeah, do something short.
I'll let them have their time. I'll get on the football one.
Now, normally we read all the certificates, but there's so many of you here. We can give you like this whole thing with roads and stuff, you know. All right, so let's do that. Yeah.
All right, come on, boys. Coaches. They're bringing up the trophies. Yeah, can we get the trophies in the back as well?
Now, what do you mean? Are we just empty? Is that what it is? I didn't know what was going on there. Like civilian shoulder pads.
How's the surgery go? Yeah. Okay, smallest in the front, biggest in the back. You guys know.
I'm gonna stand there.
Now, normally, while we make the girls usually do cheers, for the football kids when they come in, we always make them tackle JR.
Hard to catch me.
All right, guys. Well done. Thank you so much for coming.
Dude, I get it, man. My wife put the heater on the bed last night. I was roasting. I'm like, yeah. I don't know if he's here. I just find out here, but I'll just make fun of him. You didn't show up for your major sport. Sorry. Oh, yeah. Oh, Ronnie. What's your name? Come sit here, man. This is the cool spot. Yeah, sit in the big chair. Come on in. And then you got to hold the gavel.
Take it apart.
And get this out. Yes, I always take it apart and take it apart. Yes.
I declare a holiday.
Meeting adjourned. All right, so next on the fun agenda is Joanne's Beautification Award. So come on down, Joanne.
Our holiday lights recognition. Thank you for those that are here. If I didn't get a chance to ask if you were part of this, because I was checking out the names, so be ready to to come up when we call your name. Okay. So thank you very much for being here. We are going to be starting with Ashley. We're going to be starting from the bottom and going up to the top three. Okay. So. Alrighty, so here we go. The first one is 521 South Street in Linklater. Are you here?
Linklater?
Too bad. Okay, not here. Okay. Alrighty, the next one is Seavey, which is 16647 East Lake Parkway.
C's? Any C's?
No? Okay. Nobody wants to show. Okay. All righty. The next one will be Unmizik. I don't know if I pronounced that correctly. 1110 Jennifer Court. Okay.
Excellent. Looks nice. Thank you.
Very nice. Okay, next is Inc. 915 East 8th Street? No, okay.
Oh, man.
Oh, man.
This is next door, Mike's.
Okay, next one is Lindstrom.
So I nominated Mike Lindstrom because Mr. Inc. always puts all this stuff on Mike's drive, in front of his house. So I said, Mike, you need to be recognized for having all of your neighbor's stuff in front of it. So I'm going to make sure I go.
So the house you did, but the gentleman that the mayor is talking about, his house gets kind of the overload of the holiday.
I did it because they were neighbors and they worked together.
Oh.
That's why I volunteered.
See, I'm going to tell Mike Lindstrom being a good sport. Thank you.
Okay, so the family isn't here, though. Okay. Let's see here. Danielle Ferry, are you here? Yes, here she is. Yay, we got our first one here. Congratulations, Danielle. You came in fourth. Okay, so you almost made it up there, but thank you so much.
Do you leave them up there in this cold, or have you already got?
Well, they are still up there, and actually, I can't take any credit. My boyfriend actually does all the work.
Well,
I just submitted the.
Yeah.
It is very pretty.
It looks great. My kids are always bugging me to climb up there and put them up, but I never do. I have to ask your boyfriend to help out. So.
So here's a certificate.
Wow.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Oh, I gotta get a picture. And the sign.
A sign here that you can just proudly display. All righty, there you go.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Okay, let's see. So then, let's see. The next one is Nolan. Yay, come on up. Yes. At 615 South State Street.
I wonder what her bill is.
One season.
And where do they put all that stuff?
There you go. Let me get your, let's see here. Nolan, sorry. Should have been a little bit more prepared here. Here we go. So, actually,
Yeah. I figure you stick it all in the Canal Auto place. It's like, you guys mind if I I wish we could.
so Ms. Nola, I just want you to know that you came in third place. So there is a gift certificate that the
Yes.
city has given you to one of the local restaurants. So congratulations.
Congrats, yes. Here, we'll hold up your certificate.
Oh, yes, yes.
Did we get an answer on where they store all that?
So the next one will be Gregus. Gregus? Gregus?
Yeah, my man.
So, we know that you have a video. So congratulations, first of all. So we're going to
Is it a
see.
landing strip? What is it? Oh. Man.
Yay!
That's awesome, man.
Please, coming up here too, okay?
Well done.
So I just want you to know you came in second place. Okay, so congratulations.
That's cute.
You have a gift certificate. All right.
Come for a photo,
Okay,
please.
all right. Oh, yes, yes,
Is
yes.
he involved in a lot?
It's both, it's double-sided. Oh, no, it's not, okay.
Thank
So
you.
much, congratulations.
Thank you.
Yay!
What is the Kiss of Death Committee?
All right.
Oh, my God.
All righty, and the winner is, first place is the Billquist residents who came in first at 17920 South Duquesne. So just so everyone knows,
They've won
they
this.
also came in last time with the fall and Halloween, and they did a fantastic job. This time we actually have the video because the other one also had a video that we didn't have the pleasure of seeing. Look at that.
see the video.
Isn't that nice? Congratulations. So you came in first and you also have a certificate
That is so cool.
to spend
not have the
downtown
So can you
Lockport.
just leave them up all year and just change the colors for seasons?
Yes, I noticed. I was looking.
We don't leave them up all year. The upper part is left up all year.
Yes.
Yeah.
But we
yeah.
just put them up for the fall, so no holiday and Christmas.
Honestly, I know you're gonna flip on this, but I'm gonna vote no because I want senior housing and I want affordable.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you to everyone.
You're right. I think we have enough as far
Thank
as.
you to everyone who participates in this for all the seasons. We really, truly appreciate you participating. We enjoy recognizing you. That's what this committee is all about. So thank you very much for coming. Thank you for submitting your beautiful declarations, and please continue to do so.
And a round of applause for Joanne for hosting it and doing it. Thank you, Joanne.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
No, I'm always coming from left field.
All right. So that was all the fun stuff. Now it gets grim. That's right. No, just kidding. All right. So I guess we can jump right into it. Looking for a motion to have a consent agenda tonight. Joanne? Anybody want to second that consent agenda? Pat? McDonald? Oh, Renee got in there, sorry. I saw a hand raised. You got to raise your hand, Renee. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, so we're looking for approval for our regular city council meeting minutes from January 3rd, committee of the whole meeting minutes from January 3rd, our payroll period ending December 24th, bills through January 9th, approving our professional services agreement with V3 for design and final engineering to replace the 8th Street Ped Bridge, approval of professional services contract with V3 and Maple Hill HOA to fund the cost for the Fittyman Creek berm and retention pond, And then we're authorizing the execution and renewal of the IDNR lease agreement, 5415, and then accepting the quote from Austin Tyler for spoil removal, not to exceed 33.6. So, looking for a motion to approve.
Second.
All right, Renee and Pat McDonald, and then we'll do a roll call, please.
You got it. Saban.
Yes.
Bartleson.
Yes?
Deskin.
Yes.
Bergbauer.
Yes.
Galogly.
Yes.
McDonald.
Yes.
Pugh.
Yes.
Sheehan.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay. So first on the agenda, actually, the only item on the agenda tonight is PW1. We're looking, it's for a quote for lighting replacement. So you want to talk about it, Brent?
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor.
Oh, wait, you know what? I'm sorry. I'm thinking like I'm on committee to the whole. Is there, so let me do a motion for approval for Resolution 24010.
I'll make that motion.
JR?
Second.
Second it. Well, I guess, were there any outstanding questions on it? Is everybody up to, I mean, we talked about it last meeting, so. All right, so nothing's changed and there's no further questions, and we can just do a roll call. So, a roll call, please.
Saban. Yes. Bartleson.
Yes?
Deskin.
Yes.
Bergbauer.
Yes.
Galogly.
Yes.
McDonald.
Yes.
Pugh.
Yes.
Sheehan.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right. So, like I said, it's everything for this one. So if nobody's got anything new business-wise, we can do a motion to adjourn.
A motion.
Second?
Renee, second by JR. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. So when you're ready, Kathy, just roll call for committee of the whole, please.
You got it. Okay. I'm ready to roll if you are.
Yep, please.
All right, Saban. Present. Bartleson.
Here?
Deskin.
Here.
Bergbauer.
Here.
Galogly.
Here.
McDonald.
Here.
Pugh.
Present.
Sheehan.
Here.
We have a quorum.
All right, CA1, valet services. Brent, or Ben.
Yes, thank you, Mayor and members of the council. This would be Resolution 24007, approving a valet services contract with VPA, Valet Parking Authority, for valet services throughout the downtown Lockport for an amount not to exceed $100,000 in 2024. The city has been doing this for several years. We've been utilizing gaming funds for valet services to support the businesses downtown. It's been pretty successful. We do budget for these funds each year and allocate parts of the gaming funds for it. In 2021, we spent about $80,000. We spent about $96,000 in 2022, and then year-to-date, it's about $82,000 to $85,000 this year. The reason 2022 was a little higher is we had a third location for a while, and but until some of the other businesses come back, we don't feel like we need a third location at the moment. So we went out for proposals with the three firms, including the existing one, to discuss new pricing for going forward. And the low bidder was the VPA, the Valet Parking Authority. It was about $1,200 per weekend just for the two. The other proposals, the current vendor was increasing pricing, and then the other one that we solicited was higher as well. You know, I think it's important to remember that if we do bring back a third stop location, it would obviously cost a little more on those weekends until we can figure out the locations and what's best to serve. But this has been one of those situations that it's been a moving process, and we've tried different corners, and I think things are working pretty well right now on 11th Street, and you're basically on both sides of the State Street, so it's probably a little safer, and I certainly know the businesses appreciate it. You know, we did discuss at length with VPA and the other vendors about not utilizing the parking spaces on the streets. It was something that was noted in our downtown parking study that the current firm wasn't doing that. And we've been able to utilize one of the new parking lots downtown with the Environetics that would allow us to use it on nights and weekends to help supplement more. So between that and Metra and the 10th Street lot that we own, I'm pretty confident that there's plenty of parking available for the valets to run to. So we're looking to proceed with this new vendor, probably starting March 1st by the time we give notice to the other folks, and the gentleman from VPA, which I know is here. If you have any specific questions, we can answer that. We want to give everybody time to kind of make the the switch, and then I'm welcome any questions.
I just have a comment. With the Opera House opening up on the 10th Street there, that's probably going to be a third location, I would guess.
I'm guessing so, especially on banquet nights and things. The other thing we've always had available through the valet is if there's a special event, a gigantic wedding or a pub night or whatever, sometimes the holidays fall on different nights, because right now we really only provide services on Fridays and Saturdays. That was the other thing we did. We were doing Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays, and the reports found that we just weren't quite getting enough usage on Sundays. But sometimes if it's Easter, we do it. So there's a little bit of a flex schedule to it. For the most part, it's still just Fridays and Saturday nights with the special occasions that we throw in. So the exact dollar amount is usually a little off each year than what we do. But again, we budget the funds to take care of it, and we'll look to continue to do this. I think now's a good time to continue on. We could do a one-year agreement and make sure that the partnership is good, and then seek a multi-year contract in the future.
Anything else? All right, thanks, Ben. I mean, just, the hardest part is staying frosty and using the designated spots, right? Instead of the guys just pulling right into the nearest spot. But thanks for working on that. Any objection to consent? We good with that?
No, the one comment I did have is it possible that they can throw something on the dash so that we can kind of assess whether they are using the lots? Or
On the
I just don't know,
dash.
how do we gauge whether
Well,
they're actually taking the cars to those
you can
lots?
observe it. I mean, if we want to spot check or whatever,
Yeah.
but we can
I guess we
certainly.
can count keys that are hanging there and
Yeah.
go count cars
Yeah.
in the lot, right?
Right, but,
We're going to set you up with a fedora and sunglasses.
yeah.
Thanks for volunteering.
No, but you're right. It is something we do need to keep an eye on.
Yeah.
So I don't mind a creative approach to it.
Yeah,
So,
that might be it, is just count the keys, go count the cars if they,
Sure.
they match up.
We can
great.
make sure we do spot checks.
okay. All right, thanks, Jonathan.
Count.
All right, then if nothing else, we'll do a consent. Okay.
Thank you.
What else you got?
Thank you, Mayor. The members of the council, this came up last month, and we deferred this item, CA2, on the potential purchase of a commercial property downtown at 723 South State Street. It was clear we weren't quite getting consensus from the council in regards to what we were willing to pay for it. We did discuss getting another appraisal. There's one typo in my memo that I realized. The appraisal I had was not from 2019, it was from 2023, so it was pretty valid. I did talk, we reached out to, I believe the firm is called RPA, Real Property Advisors, and talked to Mark Grimes, and he is willing to do an additional, what they call a restricted appraisal report, and base it on the land only, because, in fairness, I'm not sure we want to pay market rate for a building we just determined to tear down. So I think it will give us a better number. We can work on that. My thought was we pull this back off, and I will bring it back if I can negotiate a price that I feel like the council would be willing to afford on this. Don't forget, it would still involve, about $25,000 to demo it, and then the price of acquisition. I don't know what that number is going to be based on the new appraisal and conversations with the owner, right? Can't force them to sell per se, but I think we'll have some good discussions. Tried to get in there and trying to get scheduled, and the snow happened and everything, so it's, haven't gotten in there. And we talked to some other people about some interest in it, and it kind of fell through. So we're kind of back to square one here and trying to decide if it's worth, taking the chance to free this opportunity up. And now that Delwood Tire is officially closed, it kind of makes some more sense for control of that end of the town. But it's certainly something that we can try to get a better price for your consideration. So, yeah.
So do you want to,
I have one question. The last time this came up, we were talking about the river that runs underneath it. We didn't
Yeah.
know who was the owner of that.
Yeah.
So in the process of your investigation, I think we weren't quite sure who owned it.
Yeah.
So that would be a big, big thing to know, who owns that and responsible for it should something happen.
Okay.
And was the $25,000 estimate for demo just ballpark?
Yeah, I mean,
Do
we've
you
done
think-
several in the town. That part
Being
of
over
the
the river, do
area
you
could
think
be a
we'll-
little more, a little less, because you can access it from the back and get really, really close up to it. My guess is they'll just take an end loader from behind and pull it away from State Street and be pretty clean. It's just hauling everything out of there.
Just get it all into the water there, right?
Yeah.
I'm just thinking if that posed a
Yeah.
more of a challenge, it being over the
I
water.
would think it has to, right?
It could. The other thing is that we've had success with Will County and getting some of their grants, up to $20,000, I think, are they, Lance, that could help pay for these, and so we may not even expend any city dollars to take it down, or we might be a match or something, so, yeah.
All right, so you want to just, we don't need to tell.
We don't need to do anything.
Whenever you're ready, bring it
I'll
back.
bring it back when I have something that I can hopefully get you to vote on.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, thanks, man. Sonny, what do you got? 821.
Yes. Mayor, members of the City Council, the Open Meetings Act requires a public body like the City of Lockport to review its closed session meeting minutes every 6 months or soon thereafter practical to determine whether there's a need for confidentiality to require the meeting minutes to be kept closed, or if it's been determined that the meeting minutes can be disclosed. So the last time that this public body reviewed those meeting minutes was back in August of 2023. So it's about time, like your semi-annual teeth cleaning, to review them. So the attached resolution contains what is listed as Schedule A. Those are the meeting minutes and the dates and the reasons and why that the meeting minutes should not be released. And Schedule B is meeting minutes that could be released, and at this time, there are none that could be released. These meeting minutes are available in my office if anybody, any new members of the City Council would like to review them, just to keep them abreast of any of the prior closed session meeting minutes. The resolution also contains a provision that the executive session, closed session meeting minutes that have not been approved are hereby approved, and that also after 18 months of the close of that meeting minutes or completion of that meeting minutes, any verbatim or audio recording of those meeting minutes can be destroyed. So if there are any questions, I would be more than happy to entertain them. Otherwise, I request that this item to be placed on consent for the next city council meeting.
All right, everybody good with that? Okay. And then oh no, we got
822,
the Redwood. What's going on?
So, Mayor, members of the City Council, and those members who are new to the City Council, back in December 16, 2020, which is almost 4 years ago, the City Council approved amended and restated annexation agreement that controlled the development of what is now Redwood, almost completed Redwood development that is south of Division and west of Farrell, that contained 159 dwelling units for residential rental homes. In that annexation agreement, it called for a provision in which the impact fees from 2017 would be in effect for 3 years from the recording of that annexation agreement. And that recording was back on February 9, 2023. Meanwhile, in 2022, based upon the study that was done, the City Council determined that there was a reason to increase the impact fees. So the impact fees were raised. And therefore, there are new impact fees that will be in effect to this development if it's not for the Second Amendment. The Second Amendment to the amended and restated annexation agreement will call for the 2017 impact fees to be in effect until I put it in my memo there, until another 3 years. So this will not be detrimental or significantly, be detrimental to the city in extending this impact fees for the completion of Redwood, which is almost completed. There's only one phase to be completed. So I request that this item to be placed on a public hearing that's required under the state statute for the next city council meeting, and after holding a public hearing, then vote on whether to approve the Second Amendment to the annexation agreement.
All right, any questions on that one? Does it all make sense? All right, so,
Public hearing at the next city council meeting.
Yep.
all right.
Mayor, and if you don't mind, why don't we try to jump to PW1? It's a very short item, and then we can end on CD1, if that's okay with you?
Sure, that's fine. What do you got, Brent?
Curveball, Ben.
Huh?
Thanks. I
Sorry
said
about that.
curveball, Ben. Thanks. I do have one item on the agenda this evening is to declare a couple items as surplus. Essentially, what we have is we've got a few old printers, large-scale printer, scanner model. It's an OSE TDS 450. It has been part of the city for well over a decade. Last year, we got a new printer. It's a full-size printer. It's very nice. It's just essentially replaced this one. No longer usable, no longer something that is easily serviced. So at this time, we would ask that it be surplused. Asking for council's consideration to approve resolution number 24-006, authorizing the city to declare the attached list of items as surplus. And
All right, everybody go with that? So we'll put it on consent?
thank you.
Okay. And that leaves us with Lockport Square. So I want to start with an apology to you, Jim. I think I acted unprofessionally last time. I think I want to make sure that that doesn't reflect poorly on the council, that it's me, and I want to apologize. Regardless of my feelings about the project, I acted unprofessionally, I think, with some of the ways I spoke, and so I'm sorry. So I just wanted to say that. Okay, thank you for your graciousness. All right, so that said, I know there's some questions that came from the public. I know that there were some thoughts there, so I think Lance put together some slides to try to address some of those outstanding questions. So you want to go through that first?
I'll definitely go through that. So there were a number of questions since the last meeting, and so we figured in order to kind of create a solid base of information for everybody to have, both council as well as the general public, we put together some FAQ on a variety of different topics. So we'll go through these, and obviously if you have any questions on one specific one, feel free to ask, but we'll go through these anyways. What you see on your screen is an aerial photo. The solid yellow line is the overall Lockport Square property. The dashed yellow line is what is under consideration as a part of the master plan. This is the original 2007 Lockport Square Power Center master plan. You'll see two areas in red. Those are now the Bentonhausen on the west, and they are the Holiday Inn on the east. Just for the big components of what was that plan, Home Depot was on the left. So in essence, Bentonhausen has replaced the Home Depot site. There were junior anchors, i.e. a TJ Maxx type or size facility. There was a series of inline retail stores, and then Target was on the far east end of it. The area in blue is representative of the master plan that's under consideration. This is the 2024 master plan. Obviously, the red is the Bentonhausen project, and the other red is the Holiday Inn project that's been constructed, and everything in the blue is what is, again, under consideration. So one of the questions that we got was how many parking spaces and cars will be a part of this? So what I did was I took the 2024 master plan and compared it to the 2007 master plan. In the 2024 master plan for the apartments, there are 388 required by the city code, and they are proposing 530. For the townhomes, there are 220 required, and they are proposing 220. With the retail and the hotel, there are 175 required, and they are proposing 326. So all total, it would be 783 that are required, along with 1,076 being proposed. As a part of the original 2007 plan, there were 1,684 spaces required, and there were 1,684 spaces proposed. With a caveat, you see the asterisk on that mark. The original Home Depot parking that included 612 spaces were removed from that 684. There were originally 2,515 total spaces on the original Power Center site. So that Home Depot accounted for 612, and the area where the Holiday Inn is today was 166. So I removed those from the 2,515 to get to the 1,684. I would note that the Bentonhausen's parking is probably not primarily customer related. It is nearly all intended for car exposure out to the general public, and so they're not really an apples to apples to a Home Depot that's active with customers. So I just wanted to make that clear. So in summary, a direct comparison between the master plans results in a reduction of 608 parking spaces. If you included the Springs apartment that is on the north side, because this was another question that came up, there were 388 that were required for the Springs, and there were 530 that were proposed. If you add the Lockport Square master plan of 783 and 1076, you then have a required amount of 1171 and 1606 proposed. The original Power Center, again, same numbers, 1684 and 1684. In summary, then, if you also include the 16-acre, 320-unit Springs apartments on the north side of 159th Street, it's still a reduction of 78 spaces over just what was on the south side of 9th Street, not including what would be the Home Depot parking spaces and the ones that were on the east. Open space and impervious surface. In the 2024 master plan, the C3 zoning area, which would encompass the retail and the hotel, which was parcels 2 and 3 on the master plan, we allow for 70% impervious, and there is 70% proposed. Impervious meaning parking lots, things that water can't go through. In the R4 zoning area for the apartments, we allow 55%, and there is 52% proposed. And in the townhomes, we allow for 50%, and there is 29% proposed. In the original Lockport Square master plan, it was a 70% impervious surface. So in summary, the 2024 master plan reduces the impervious and creates more open space by 30% in the townhome and the apartment parcels. The commercial remains the same as what it was previously in 2007. The detention ponds in the 2024 master plan, and these are really the same response. Those were all accounted for in the 2007 master plan, so the ponds that are along 159th Street that you see today were constructed. There is a pond that is in the far southwest corner that is behind the Bentonhausen dealership building. That was constructed in 2007 as well. And then there is a pond that is kind of in the direct south area of the site as well that was also constructed. There are a series of bioswales that are regulated by the Army Corps that the applicant had mentioned at the last meeting. Those would remain in place in the new plan, and they were obviously in place in the 2007 plan. So in summary, there isn't really an impact to the current stormwater system. You know, there is some discussion about where the water goes, but the volume is still there to accommodate it on site. Why a hotel? This was a market study that the owner performed for his benefit, obviously, to make sure that there was a market to accommodate the hotel. They included a number of interviews with the Summit Ice Arena, Denolfo's, a number of the high employment centers, Silver Cross, and other tourism attractions. The new Lennox Sports Facility that's been recently announced was not included in those interviews because it wasn't known at the time that the study was going on. That is now under construction, and the study confirmed for them that a Home 2 Suites type product would be suitable for the site. And so, you know, in summary, the hotel's inclusion in the project is based on the market analysis performed by the owner via a third party. The financial impacts of the project via building permits and impact fees, these are obviously estimates, and they are one-time fees. For the townhomes, you can see the numbers there. In essence, the city portion of the impact fees is $664,700 for the townhomes. They are for the all impact fees. That includes the school districts, the park district, the fire district, the library. It would be $1,052,260. And then the building permit fees, when they come through to build their facilities, that would roughly equal $460,000. That's based off of the Highland Ridge costs that were associated with that. The apartments, or sorry, not the Highland Ridge, the Silo Bend townhome product. The Lockport Square apartments would generate in total a city portion of $1.55 million, and all impact fees of roughly $2 million. You'll notice two things on the graphic that have $0 in there. We typically charge for a park district impact fee and a street maintenance impact fee. Those are typically associated with projects that have public roads in them and have a public park. Obviously, an impact fee has to create a nexus to the development itself. And so since there is not a public park that would be included in this, it would be all maintained by the developer themselves. We would not charge the park district impact fee and the street maintenance impact fee. And the building permit fee for the apartments, that one is based off of the Highland Ridge model, and those would be roughly $300,000. Comparables for a property tax evaluation, the way that we worked this was we compared actual property tax bills from these different products to kind of identify a comparable. So in this case, in the 2007 master plan, there were 3 outlot buildings that are nearly the exact same as what is out on 159th Street, where Mod Pizza, Chipotle, Open Bottle, those types of things. And then the Jewel development is roughly the same size as what the junior anchors were going to be. The Jewel Inline, which is the area directly east of that, that includes Toro and a number of the other inline spaces, that was roughly the same size square footage wise as what was included here. And the Walmart was a little bit bigger than the target that was planned for. The target was about 185,000. The Walmart is 205,000 square feet, so we associated with that. In the 2024 master plan, that equates to an annual property tax bill of $1.353 million, and the city's portion of that, including our road bridge line item, would be $145,687. Again, these are estimates just based on comparables. Our comparables for the proposed plan was taking a Silo Bend townhome price. We took the Holiday Inn tax bill for the hotel. We took Highland Ridge for the apartments. One of the Lockport Square front outlots, again, Chipotle, Mod, Open Bottle type size property, and that. There are 2 in the new plan for the outlots, and then there is the 1 restaurant property as well. That compares to the 2007 master plan. The junior boxes, which were equal to the Jewel, equates to $169,000 and a city portion of $15,900. The Walmart is $381,491, a city portion of $35,920. The Jewel Inline Retail is $94,095 with a city portion of $88,59. And the Lockport Square front outlot is $136,185 with a city portion of $14,283. And again, there are 3 in the plan, so that number is, you could divide it by 3 to get what the single outlot would be. So a total, an annual property tax bill of the 2007 master plan in today's dollars of $780,815, and a city portion of $74,978. Status of the sales tax increment financing agreement that was struck in the mid-2000s to 2010s. The original STIF, as amended, was either $9.2 million to Janko, or if December 31st, 2038 happened, it would expire at that point, whichever comes first. The average per year needed to fulfill that agreement is $368,000 to Janko, only if the open businesses generate enough sales tax to pay that. The current status of the STIF, the actual STIF paid to Janko from 12/2015 through June 2023 is $241,000, or roughly $32,133 per year on average. With the recent new businesses that have opened, the yearly amount has increased to $60,000 per year to Janko. And if the retail revenue increases modestly to generate an average of $80,000 per year to Janko over the remaining 17 and a half years, the total incentive value is $1.4 million, $7.8 million less than the original agreement. So the summary of that is we would project that Janko will receive roughly 15% of what they had originally agreed to as a part of the incentive agreement. Will there be a traffic study performed? Yes, once the developer, whether it's Janko developing a parcel of this or someone else that purchases one, when they submit for final development plans that all of you see, that will be a requirement of that submittal. Staff will request that there also be a global study that tracks the impacts of each development on the overall master plan property. Given the reduced parking quantity, it's likely that the traffic will be less than the original planned. So if you remember back to having 15 cars on the site compared to 1687, it's a fairly sizable reduction in the amount of cars that would be on that site. From a police staffing impact, you see two different things. On the top, the Department of Justice staffing data, those are best practices, and then the Lockport Law Enforcement Officer staffing data, that is actual for today, 26,094 residents. We have 41 sworn officers when fully staffed, and we're currently at 1.57 officers per 1,000 residents, which is consistent with the Department of Justice staffing best practice. The recommendation is that there is not a need to increase the number of officers at this time, but obviously we reevaluate as the population and calls for service increase. From a sanitary treatment plant impact, our current status in 2024, our capacity is 5.0 MGD, million gallons per day at the Division Street plant, 2.26 MGD at Bonnie Bray, for a total of 7.26 MGD in our entire treatment plant system. The flow, meaning the amount of waste that we treat, is 3.33 MGD at Division, 0.90 MGD at Bonnie Bray, for a total of 4.23 MGD. And the number of households, that reflects about 1,000 households, which equates to roughly 385 gallons per house. The consolidation projection, meaning when we do the consolidation of Bonnie Bray into the Division Street plant by 2029, this is just looking at the Lockport Square addition to this. The capacity will be 6.22 MGD at Division. Bonnie Bray will be converted to a lift station and just be transferring waste. The flow will be 4.39 as opposed to 4.23 MGD at Division, and the number of households, obviously with 310 apartments and 110 townhomes, will now be 11,420 instead of 11,000. So in summary, the proposed addition of the 420 households, the 310 apartments, and the 110 townhomes would equal 0.16 MGD, which is 2.6% of our capacity, and an increase of 3.7% in the flow. This is a second image that also then looks globally at the entire system. The 2024 item on the top, that's basically the same thing that I was mentioning in the current. The bottom item also identifies, in addition to that, that if we look at all the development that is out there, that includes all zoned current properties that are not developed, as well as some of the ones that we understand may be, imminent or potentially pending. That includes both of those. By the end, if everything was developed, we would be at 95% capacity in our total treatment plant after the consolidation occurs. So as it currently stands, the Lockport Square component of that is a pretty small amount, but it would require every property in the city and a number of unannexed, unzoned properties to be developed before we would start to approach the capacity of the plant as it's going to be consolidated. What would be the timeline if approved? If the master plan, the concept plan is approved, Janko Group would need to submit a re-subdivision plan to create the different parcels that they have suggested on the concept plan. They would need to submit rezoning plans and have their special use permit and development agreement updated to reflect the master plan, specifically the inclusion of the residential component in that. That would be approximately a 3-month process, and both Plan Zoning Commission and the City Council review that. Any subsequent developer, i.e. just like the outlots are purchased by other developers and developed, if another developer or Janko would come through to develop one of the parcels, whether it's the townhomes, the hotel, the apartments, or the retail, they would need to follow our standard final development plan process, which takes approximately 4 months from when the plans are submitted. We do 8 weeks of review and editing internally with staff, catching any comments or code issues or things like that. They have 2 weeks to revise their documents. We have 2 weeks to re-review the documents, make sure we check all the boxes. Then they have a week to get their documents back to us before it goes to Plan and Zoning Commission, and then it comes to City Council the following month for Committee of the Whole, and then City Council for approval. So both City Council and Plan and Zoning Commission would review each one of those developments as they come through. That kind of catches all the FAQs and the questions that we have kind of received. Certainly be happy to further respond to any of those items, or if there's an additional item. We've obviously have thought fairly significantly about the project, so we do have a lot of information that we can pull from if there is a question.
Just real quick, so the residential area would be a complete rezoning, not a special use or some kind of overlay
We would
district?
have to modify their special use ordinance to include the residential use. If we are going to rezone it to include apartments, it would need to be rezoned to R4 to accommodate that, because we do not allow residential in the C3 district. And then the townhomes would be rezoned to R3. As I had suggested to the council earlier, the other thing that we could do with the special use permit is we could allow them to have commercial on the first floor, if that's something that the council would prefer to have, to offer the developer the opportunity to have vertical mixed use included in the project. That is certainly something that we can integrate into that in any of the districts. It could be in the C3 district, it could be in the R4 district, it could be in the R3 district. So any of that is an opportunity for you to amend as a part of their special use permit.
But in this case, it would really just be somebody running a business out of their townhome, is what you're saying?
Or in the first floor of the apartment.
Okay.
So if somebody wanted to, like if Garrett, if they have their proprietary restaurant, like we talked about at the last meeting, if they wanted to do that, that would allow them to do that.
Okay. All right. And then as far as like the public works and the officers, I just want to make sure you guys all good with those numbers. I know there was some anxiety last week when we were talking about this. Those are all numbers you feel comfortable with?
Correct. Those are the projected generated flows, the projected generated impacts from this development. Those are accurate, 0.16 MGD.
And with everything coming online, feel like if everything were to be built out, feel like it's okay?
Everything comes online. We are, what we have planned for covers everything that we have planned for. We are building it to cover everything that we have planned for. So anything outside of that, so the next, something that comes in that is outside of that plan, which currently we don't anticipate in the next, decade or two, then we would have to consider another expansion. But currently, everything that we have capacity for.
Well, let me just confirm that for me. So there's a couple projects that are unannexed that they're kicking the tires on. You plan those?
Yes.
You factored those in?
The last couple days, we have gone through and we
Okay.
have, yes, added those in.
Okay.
Yes. Yep.
And Rich, you're good with the numbers and feeling you got adequate police department?
Yes, sir. I think we're in a very good position right now as we stand as a department. As Lance had stated, it's going to be a process of kind of monitoring and evaluating as these projects come in, because as populations increase, so do numbers of calls for service. That's just the way they go. It's hand in hand. So, but I think like right now, we're in a great position. I think if we just stay on top of it and evaluate it as we go, we'll be fine.
And counsel, if you don't mind, I'd like you to just throw any questions out. And then I would like to go just through everybody and just hear your take on the project itself. So if there's any just questions, like I just had a couple quick questions, please throw those out. But then I would like to return and just hear people's thoughts on the project.
I have to ask them all at once?
No, I mean, just fire them out right now, man. Yeah. And certainly they'll come up. And we still have another meeting to, if stuff comes to you.
I wanted to confirm, so we've got on the southeast corner of the property where the townhouses are, I don't know the name of the street that's furthest south in that development. It was assigned a letter. There's townhouses kind of up to that sidewalk, right? That urban feel that we had talked about, or that you guys talked about at the last meeting that I wasn't at. Going out the front door of those south-facing townhomes is M1, and it's currently developed as like a logistics, heavy trucking stuff. When the city does its, and I'm new still, going on a year, does its strategic planning, we make efforts to not put residential up against manufacturing and to try to buffer kind of where those things sit up against each other. I remember out in, what's the next subdivision, Saddlewood? Is that the name of it? No. Sagebrook, on the east side of, and there was a lot of conversations about that because we had, what people considered to be kind of conflicting uses, that you wouldn't necessarily build your house next to a refinery, even though folks did. And I just want to understand, like, that's a view coming out of your front door. If you use it, I mean, if you just hop in your car and, and leave out the garage, but trying to make like an urban place that people want to spend time in, like you want to be able to walk out your front door and walk around, and it just seemed kind of a dramatic difference between residential and.
Yeah, it's an interesting observation. It's actually something that the applicant and I talked about as far as, whether or not they would want those townhomes to look at the Berlin packaging and the Tesla building. They did point out that there is a significant berm between the two sites, and it's always different when residential comes in after the M1 zoning is in place. Obviously, Prologis or Heritage Crossings is different because they were coming in after the residential was already there. But in this case, the developer has chosen that they think it's a viable location where they can sell units. This particular layout, whether or not that ultimately ends up to be the exact final layout, it probably won't. There will probably be some adjustments that occur to it. But I had the same thought as you did originally, and we went back and forth on it, and they liked the layout that they had, and so that's what they showed.
This is a question you may not be able to answer. Currently, the interested party for construction there, we have an additional hotel that Janko is looking to develop, the townhouse product that Janko is looking to develop, and then the apartment product that is our kind of one interested party outside of Janko, but no interest in the commercial yet.
Yeah,
But not
correct.
until more building happens or something magical that gets everybody interested in.
Or until the interest rates drop, cost of construction changes, or all of that kind of stuff. I mean, it's one of the reasons why you see that things commercially have slowed down, is because the interest rates and cost of construction is still high, and it's not making their pro formas pencil out very well right now.
Gotcha. I may have more, but
No,
please,
that's
other
fine.
folks
Yes,
ask
please.
questions, yeah.
Anybody else have some outstanding questions?
You have more? I may.
You weren't here the last time.
Right.
so
Well, I don't need to catch up, right?
Well, I have two questions. Number one here is why was the future hotel site chosen?
One of the things that when we were working on the plan with the applicant, one of the things that we had highlighted was when you come in on the main entrance, we wanted to make sure that it had a presence, meaning having the taller buildings towards the center of the site so that it created a more urban environment in that area. And so that site was one of the more prominent sites to be able to do that, and given that the hotel would be a 3 or 4 story building, it would certainly have the mass under which to convey that entrance appeal.
And the second question I have is about the apartments, and I think I know the answer, but, you know, there's been concerns about the rental aspect of it versus the townhome aspect of it, where people are going to actually own the property. So what is purchasing an apartment, is that a viable option? So now there's ownership. Like a condo.
Yeah. Condos have been an interesting research project really across the country. They have fallen significantly out of favor. In fact, I could not name a condo project that's been built in the last 15 years because of a number of issues that come up related to condos. It's very consistent with our HOA issues today. When a condo building that has 310 potential owners in it has to repair all of the plumbing in the building, and the bill is $400,000, that gets assessed to all of the owners. You can probably ask anybody that lives in one of the condos in the Loop or some of those areas how much some of their assessments have been. And I think, just like in HOA, people don't like to charge themselves for money, and since condos and HOAs in subdivisions are self-governing, that has become an issue. I don't know if that is the explicit reason why condos have not been developed recently, but I know that that is a significant part of that equation.
Okay, and I have one final question. This is before the city attorney. In other apartment developments that we've had, is we've had kind of like a covenant or requirement that they would charge market rate rents. Is that something that, if we were to approve this, is that something that we can go ahead and require for these apartments?
Yeah, at this point, I don't know if there's, you know, I would have to do some research and do that, but at this time, I don't know any of statute that directly prohibits the city from putting in that. If there is one, you know, I'll take a look at it. But it's one of those things where if the developer is not being forced and they agree, two parties could agree things as long as it's not against public policy or any direct statute. So I would have to take a look at it. It could be that there's a provision under a state statute that you can't force a developer to do that. But if that developer agrees, that's another issue.
Yeah, we had agreements with Redwood and Highlands on that. I was concerned there may have been some state law changes that really make those things moot now, like you really can't come into that kind of agreement anymore.
Yeah, one of the things that went into action on January 1st was identifying source of income as a protected class. So just like gender and sex and all those kinds of things, it is a protected class. In talking with folks like Redwood, with like Continental and other things, they oftentimes find that their vetting process is really key for them to do what they need to do to maintain the quality of their developments, the quality of the residents that they have. They obviously don't have an interest in having anybody that comes in and challenges their buildings or their units or their facilities or anything like that. So that's typically the way that those are handled, is, you know, You have to prove number of months of employment, you have to prove number of months of income, you have to have a sufficient income. All of those types of things are the typical vetting processes that go through for all of the property managers. And the other thing that we look for oftentimes if we're going to have somebody approach us with apartments are developers that develop and hold and maintain and operate their facilities. So Redwood, as an example, they have an on-site maintenance person that lives there. They have an on-site leasing person that lives there. They have held, as we went through 3 years ago, they have held all but one of their probably up to 14,000 units that they have constructed across the country. Continental is much the same way. They have a property management arm. If the company that is interested in the apartment developing here goes ahead and actually does facilitate the development of the parcel, they also own, hold, maintain, and property management through a variety of their different arms that they have under their company umbrella. So that, for us, that's really important. We don't want somebody that just comes in, builds it, and then sells it to Joe Schmo the next day. We want somebody that has a care and concern for the facility that they have developed, the types of residents that they have, and all the qualifications that they require in order for somebody to live in their units.
Yep. And as far as like the source of funding, that's not the same as requiring a developer to put a unit for market price, which is wholly different. So asking someone, a future tenant, where they got their money or their cash, that had disparate impact on the protected class. That's why the reason for that for that law.
Any other questions there, council?
I do, but I just wanted to say there, we do have Nora back. By the way, Nora is head of the government affairs, and she came at our last meeting to kind of just, she came because she heard, and she, just gave her thoughts on, what Lockport was doing, that she thought it was a good idea. Nora, can you add anything to the protected class for the rentals and so forth, because that is kind of a, kind of an issue,
Have all night. I do think that this is important to discuss, is that you first.
Can she come, can you please come up?
Excuse me, sir.
Joanne, classes in session. No, this is a pretty intensive policy, and I think that it might bear maybe a separate meeting at some point to kind of go through the policy so that we can all be well aware of what we're doing. But we do have some realtors and housing providers who actually are, experiencing the business end of this policy. But I do think that it bears deeper discussion, and we could be here all night, and you have a large agenda to go through. So let's set up a time where we can get into the weeds on that policy, and thank you.
If you don't mind, Joanne and Renee, if that's something you could work with Nora on the next couple weeks, and maybe you could
By
come
all
back and
means.
summarize for us?
Renee, you too? Okay, great. And we've got our team over here, so let's do it.
All right, sounds good.
Okay. Any other outstanding questions?
Pat, did you have something that you want to say before I just have a couple.
Would you turn your mic on,
Pardon?
I was waiting for Darren to reach over, he's such a gentleman.
She blocked me this week with the screen.
No, really, the only thing, I thought it looked a little congested, and, I'm glad that the city is covered with, the maintenance of, be able to accommodate for sewer and, and things like that, and the police department and all that. That's fantastic, that we don't have to spend more money right now in order to accommodate this possibly in the near future. I guess my question is, was there any thought put into, because I know what you said about condos, Lance, but I find in our profession, condos are in need. Apartments are for those that are pretty much transients, that they're not going to be there for a long period of time. So they don't want to have to worry about, resale and so forth. Condos are kind of hard right now to even get at an affordable price. So there is a need for condos, to tell you the truth. At least I have found myself trying to find condos that are affordable for my buyers. Has the builder thought anything about, instead of apartments, going into a type of condo, development instead of apartments? Well, what was the reasoning, I guess? What's so popular about having more apartments? We have one going across the street on 159th. We had Redwood that we're finishing up with. I guess I just like to just hear what the mindset is that, of another rental complex.
Thank you. The answer is the market study showed apartments, and condos don't pencil out at this point in time.
Interesting. I don't know that I agree with it, but okay. That's what the study showed you.
Well, Redwood and Highland Point, not Highland Point, but the
Ridge.
and they have waiting lists. I mean, and they're high-end rentals, and I agree. I think that our market's actually trending that direction.
We made the comment last time, too, that these particular style of apartments have been across from Continental other times. Garrett has been across from Continental, and they like that because they believe Continental's a nice product. They have a different product, and their pricing is a little higher. So they don't compete necessarily head-on. They like being in close proximity.
Jim, I don't think what do you think the price point rentals for these units were?
I don't know. I can't really remember. I'm not.
Is there somebody from Garnet here tonight?
It's a concept plan. We're not.
Yeah, I would
we're not going
suggest
through
that we don't.
In other places that these have been built, though, there's got to be some kind of
Well, no, the market was, you need $2 plus a square foot to do structured parking. There's not enough rental oomph in this market to do structured parking, like you would find in some of the other communities. It means a concrete parking deck. So we had to do surface parking, and it's the next level down. And I don't know if it's 2 1/4 or 2 or 185 or some number like that, but it's the next tier down from the structured parking rental requirement.
We obviously don't know what construction prices are going to be 2 years from now when they actually go out to bid on their projects, which obviously impacts the rent that they charge. I would suggest that if you look at Highland Ridge or, One Springs has a building up and they start leasing, they'll be roughly plus or minus 10% to those. They're obviously not going to price themselves way out of the market because then they won't do anything, and that would not work for them financially. That would be my total guess. And again, Garrett doesn't have any purchase agreement on this parcel. They are a group that has expressed interest to Genco in purchasing this. But at a concept plan level, there's nobody that will commit to buying a parcel without even some level of approval. And so to go to the point where they're projecting rents on something that nobody has even shown and put any dollars down or a contract down is difficult.
I think the struggle perhaps then is, but that's fine, but I think sometimes councils feel like their hands are tied if they approve a concept and then the apartment product is something that's not anything we want to see, then we feel like, well, we've already approved the concept, we're going to be in big trouble if we don't keep going with it. And I think sometimes that's fine that they don't want to give us any specifics until after the concept, but I think there needs to be feeling of assurances for the council that we're not stuck with something that may end up being not what we're looking for.
And again, they will need to come back with the final development plan proposal that have the architecture, landscape, site improvements. They all have to meet our design guidelines. Lockport Square itself has design guidelines that they imposed on themselves back in 2007 that has governed all of the outlots that have been constructed. It would obviously need to be refined to include the residential, but that would default to our, we now have multifamily design guidelines that are included in that document. So they would need to meet all the things that everybody has approved as a part of our zoning code itself. So I guess what I would say is, you know, to a degree, yes, but also you're protected just like you are with any other development that's approved at a concept plan level, that they have to meet your minimum expectations that you have already approved as a part of our code.
Well, and I think it's also the time to give any larger expectations. Maybe they're not in the code, but this is our opportunity, if there's anything unique, to put it out there, so there's no surprises later. Jim, let me ask you a question, if you can elaborate a little bit. So I know there's certain restrictions now on the property, like bakery and such. Can you elaborate on, for the council, what those restrictions are? Things that can't go in because you've set up deals with existing businesses on there. So, yeah, maybe even explain the chicken a little further, because Wendy's couldn't come in because of a chicken dispute.
Because Wendy's wanted something more than they were willing to get, yeah. But if this would have been developed as a power center, you'd have all sorts of restrictions, because Home Depot wouldn't allow hardware, Target wouldn't allow grocery, and you go on down the line, so that one category, make sure no other categories are there. That didn't happen because we kind of started in the front. So the first one in sometimes requires use restrictions, and you'll recall the first one in was Dr. Hanna and Medical Express. He got a deal because he owned some land originally, and so medical, urgent care, and some definitions are prohibited anywhere in Lockport Square. That was what he got in return for donating his property to the original assemblage. The next one in that had some sort of restrictive ability was Panera. And Panera doesn't want a bakery, and we limited certain kinds of uses to the outlots adjacent to them. They're on 5, so 6, 7, and 8 had certain kinds of uses restricted, but not others. And then we also parsed it out a little bit, saying sandwich shops anywhere, and they agreed to that. And the one we had difficulty pushing back on was bakery cafe, which is what they view themselves as. And so we're prohibited in the outlots from bakery cafe, which includes Lot 20A, the future commercial where the hotel is, and also 15B. So basically,
The remaining commercial. So if a Big B Coffee wanted to open up in there, would that fall under this restriction that it couldn't
Correct.
do it?
Couldn't be there. Starbucks can't come.
Okay. And any others?
Well, again,
So medical,
Starbucks,
bakery, coffee.
coffee is restricted to certain geographies. Starbucks could come to the rear of the site or to the far east part of the site.
But that's all residential. You're not,
Yeah, but I'm saying you could do it, I'm just saying.
not with this configuration.
Conceptually, Lot 10 is empty. You could conceptually put something there. Lot 10, which is, nobody's there.
Across from the Popeyes.
And what happened with lots 9 and 10, Ricky Silverman's development, he ran into the buzzsaw because he wanted an urgent care, and that was prohibited by Dr. Hanna. Dr. Hanna wouldn't release his waiver, so he shifted over there. They also, Wendy's, the restriction on chicken, we got the ability to put in Chick-fil-A and Buffalo Wild Wings specifically, but generally Popeyes prohibits chicken that's more than 15% of sales. Wendy's has less than 15% of sales. But Hamra from Wendy's was saying, well, I want to do this whatever I want in the future. I want 48%. The language was, didn't clarify a percentage. So they couldn't agree on a percentage. Wendy's went away. That's how that
So
worked.
I know we thought we all had Buffalo Wild Wings 6 years ago, but then they're like, we're not building anymore. That was before Popeyes. With Popeyes here now, would Buffalo Wild Wings not be able to build here?
No, they are able to come.
Okay, all right.
We haven't been able to attract either one. We could bring a Chick-fil-A or a Buffalo Wild Wings to Lockport Square.
Okay. On the
Anywhere.
proposed commercial lots that we see here?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's kind of a stacking, rolling thing. Marcus has even got it exclusive on a theater.
Sure.
So, I mean,
Well,
that's-
I mean, of course, we all understand the big ones. It's like, Home Depot didn't want other hardware. It's not like we were going to have a Home Depot and a Lowe's. I mean, that's all understandable. It's the smaller units that, there's only so many smaller businesses, so.
They all, the nationals tend to protect themselves that way. So you have all these kind of things, but it's a little bit complicated. First one in gets more, second one in gets less because it doesn't affect the first one in. Third one in gets even less because the other two, they can't put restrictions back on those other two properties already developed and so forth. So it's a little complicated, but
So let me go back to something Darren brought up with the placement of the hotel. So I think clearly this was, great effort was made many years ago to assemble this parcel for commercial. It's not easy, you know how hard that is. I mean, even with it assembled, Dr. Hanna still had say over it, right? So it's very difficult. And with that said, the expectations for commercial have been high, and well, the market's changed and big boxes aren't there, I understand it, but, so now we have these basically outlot buildings behind another set of outlot buildings, and then we have the hotel, which clearly could be two other outlot buildings of commercial. So, foregoing the idea that, boy, it looks more urban because it's so tall, isn't that great? Instead, actually moving it to the back corner so that that entire street could be commercial frontage. But I'm kind of torn, because I think if, you know how I feel about this, I'm not a fan of this at all, but if it ends up going forward, that I'd rather see all the commercial there and have the hotel tucked back where the Holiday Inn Express is. I mean, there's long-stay people, there's like a bunch of contractor pickup trucks out there. It's not the grand entrance when you walk in there, because they're all up here working at Citgo, which is a very common long-term stay folks that we have. But I think, but I'm torn in the sense that we've been working on this for a long time, and we still don't have the frontage road outlots built out. And that some of the concern was, when I was talking about actual mixed-use buildings, no one's going to be able to see it. Totally understand. If those don't work, why would these work? And with the added problem of having a hand tied behind your back, that there's certain restrictions that you can't do, I'm trying to, and we all know that you don't build any of these until you get all the tenants lined up. So my guess is the timing on this with the apartments would go up right away. And then, what happens in 5 years when you can't get the tenants all lined up for the front because they're hidden behind the back of these other ones? That's my concern. So I'd be like, let's move the hotel, please, so we can have as much commercial opportunities as possible. But having listened to some of the concerns about it being hidden and the fact that we haven't even been able to sell all the outlots in the front, I don't know why these would be successful. Can you give me your professional opinion about why these are going to be successful?
yeah, first of all, we only got one outlot in front. Currently, that's not done. It's Lot 10. The car dealer could choose at some point to do Lot 6 next to Panera as another outlot. Those are going to get done first. We almost had Lot 10 put together this year. The next row is next. And one of the reasons for making commercial on the south side of the next row is quite simply, commercial traffic is much more in and out. You don't want them to go through the residential neighborhood. And if you put it behind Holiday Inn, for example, it's only a 2-acre site. Now you got another 2-acre site behind it. What do you do with that?
Just so I confirm, I want to make sure I understood what you just said. You're saying that if you move the hotel and left...
Look at the Holiday Inn red box.
Yeah.
And draw another red box that size right behind it.
Mm-hmm.
Now you've got a little chunk of land way in the back. You want me to put self-storage back there? Probably not.
But
That's probably one of the uses that would work.
Sure, but I guess you're doing it in the other spot. I mean, you got to remember, man, the expectations for this community for a long time have been commercial, and so putting in extended stay suites there isn't like the most exciting use. If it ended up going by the Holiday Inn Express and the back corner is, if it doesn't work for the townhomes, because, as Jonathan was concerned about, like, well, now I'm between although they're right next to it now, I don't understand the difference, to be honest with you. You would just have less townhomes, but a little bit more commercial property. And if you're telling me, oh, no, you feel confident that you could fill these commercial units because, it's on this road, and I personally, it's my commentary about this. I don't think the hotel's in the right spot.
Well, you asked for my prediction. Lot 28 will be the last ones developed. And then car dealer, I predict, will be coming back. There's some area in front of them that they're not using. They're putting dirt on it. There's at least one outlot there. Why not come back and put another outlot there? Those are all, once.
Well, Bettenhausen always bought it because they wanted to park cars out there. Let's be honest. It wasn't going to be a building. It was going to be.
It's a corporate deal. And I think it's Bettenhausen's view of it is he doesn't need quite as much as corporate bought.
Okay.
So I wouldn't expect, it's likely that they could come back and do some more commercial development on either side of that road or both sides of that road.
All right. And I guess my last thing I'd like to bring up has to do with the STIF. So, when we negotiated a STIF 10 years ago, it's because project like this, they're difficult. We're trying to get these big boxes in here. It's what everybody was really, hoping to revive after the whole economy crashed in 2008. It's like we understood a STIF. But currently, it's really only been used to its fullest for Bettenhausen, if I'm understanding it right. Bettenhausen were like, you keep your part of the STIF. You keep that extra sales tax to make it happen. But as far as the other stuff goes, it's not a lot of money in the big picture. Certainly, as Lance said, it's not the numbers that everybody was hoping for simply because we don't have the big box movement and, large retail things going out. Instead, they're smaller shops. But I don't really see keeping this STIF in place for this. And we didn't give a STIF across the street. We didn't give a STIF for other residential. We gave it to this because the expectations were for large retail shopping, and that's not going to happen here. So I'm struggling with what's the point in even keeping it. And if the estimate at 17 years is $1.4 million, I'd rather see that go to the city of Lockport than, just not be used to actually get the retail that we all were expecting.
Let me explain a little bit. I tried to do it in the email, but what the STIF does for us is when we looked at Lot 5 for Panera, for example, we did a calculation of sales tax as part of our sale process. And let's say it's, X $1,000 for X number of years, and it qualifies. We discounted that, and that's a credit or an offset to the land sale cost price that we made. So as a result, we used the STIF for all of these projects that we did so far. The STIFs, developers don't give STIFs typically to the retailers. We did to Bettenhausen because we wanted them to come to town, and they paid us a little bit premium because they're getting it. As I mentioned, we tried to give land away to Home Depot, tried to give them the entire STIF. They've got a $60 million project and a couple $1 million to them in that project. Didn't offset what they believed was a 20% sales loss in Homer Glen. And we've been fighting, TJ Maxx, Kohl's, Target are over there in Lamont. So it's the same issue that we had there. The STIF is helpful at a margin, but it's not big enough to move the needle for a lot of these guys. I don't think you have to do anything. We're not going to get STIF dollars any more than was projected beyond what we're getting for the additional commercial. Hotel doesn't have STIF returned to us either.
So are you saying, yeah, sure, forget the STIF. If we're going to do all this residential, it's like.
You don't have to do anything. The STIF's not going to matter. The STIF that's already there, I don't think you can take away. I would say, wait a minute. That's something that was part of our bargain.
Sure. But part of our bargain was not residential. So if we're going to reopen this up, Jim, I think all that's on the table.
Wanna take money out of my pocket? Go ahead.
thoughts. One of the points about the sales tax versus the property revenues, the sales tax is more for a certain category of expenses, whereas property taxes are a different category?
Correct. So sales tax would be when you go into Mod Pizza and you pay sales tax on the pizza that you buy. That is a part of the sales tax that the city gets, and then is returned 60% to Janko, who then, like he said, when they do a property deal with, say, Ricky Silverman, they use the sales tax estimate that they would get from the revenues that are generated by Mod, Chipotle, or whoever the tenants are, to write down the price of the property to interest the developer in buying the property.
So those dollars, when we give them to Lisa, what bucket do those dollars go into to pay bills?
Are you talking for sales tax?
Sales tax.
Sales tax goes to the general fund. Our home rule sales tax goes to the capital fund.
Okay.
Okay? So the amount that we get in sales tax and every other municipality gets from sales tax, that stays in our general fund. So that's used for police, for public works, for administration, all of our operating expenses.
Okay, so as far as property taxes go, which would be the landowners for like the townhomes and apartments, you're going to get annual revenue from those. Where does that money typically go then?
So the levy that we passed in December listed out all those different areas that we do a levy for. So it's police officers, it's for our pensions, it's
Okay,
for
so-
liability insurance, administration. So we have a whole bunch of different items that cover the property tax. But the majority of our property tax revenue also goes into our general fund. There's a few that go into other funds, but the majority of it does go.
So if you had to look at the revenues generated by sales tax versus property tax, which is going to give you the biggest bang?
Well, with this current mock-up, definitely property tax.
Okay. Because as you said in your, Lance, I appreciate you putting the questions together because that was phenomenal. To do that so quickly, it was great. I think the number was originally in the beginning of the project, it was like 9 mil, and now it's down below 3 or close to 3 for the projected sales tax for the rest of the time.
There's just over $1 million.
And just one point of clarification, the apartments across the street didn't use any sales tax, obviously, but those commercial outlets out front are probably going to be coming to us to ask for some type of sales tax agreement. It would not be as significant as these, but I'm pretty sure we're going to get asked to do some kind of partnership to help lower the cost of acquiring the land and building those walls and making deals with tenants.
So your question, just to respond back, the difference between sales tax and property tax is very stable, right? We know that that bill's going to come out every single year and it has to be paid, and if it doesn't get paid, that property gets sold, but we still get our money. So when you look at how much we levy, we get 99.9% of that revenue. So it's a stable revenue source for us. It's also a revenue source that we're trying to drive down our reliance on, right? That was part of our strategic plan, is to continue to lower our reliance on property tax dollars. But when you get to sales tax, it's so much more volatile. Depends on what's happening in the economy, what's happening in the market. Are you in a recession? What types of businesses are in there, and how susceptible are they to, an economic recession? You go to Walmart, Walmart's going to be stable 365 days a year, right? Because that's the place that people go if they want to save money. So it all depends what type of retail and sales tax dollars you have in there and the volatility that comes with that.
So from looking at it, which gives the city more benefit to drive that down, it's that guaranteed income that we get from the property taxes, not so much the bet on, like for the period of time that we have there, he's going to get a certain percentage of those sales tax dollars until 2032 or something like that.
Right. The other thing is the property taxes bring money to the schools. It brings it to the township. It brings it to all the other taxing bodies, the county. Everybody gets a piece of that. Sales tax only comes to the city. That's it.
Well, yeah.
So
And I think that all that's true. I think Darren made some points last meeting about, you know, what the revenue generated by property tax. Lance, of course, I think confirmed those things. There's no doubt about it. Sales tax is kind of like this gravy in the sense that we don't have to provide services for sales tax. We don't have to provide, you know, sewer and water for sales tax per se. It's like, it's
You don't even
that
have to
extra
provide
money that
residents.
comes in.
I mean, sales tax comes from people coming into town to shop, and that kind of goes to, and I'm going to make a couple points here, they're not questions, and then I'll be quiet. First one, National Multifamily Housing Council and the National Apartment Association, two apartment trade groups, estimate that Illinois needs 2,000 new apartments a year to keep up with demand. And we're proposing to build 600 of those here in Lockport across the street from each other. And so this project, I'm way more in favor of saying, let's see how Springs builds out, see how Springs fills out before we put another 300 units online. The second thing is, and I think I speak on a lot of people that are sitting here, like residential property owners are shouldering so much of the tax burden that I think the city wants to preserve this as commercial space because there's, and I'm speaking on what I think folks want, we have a lot of development going on in the area, development that's going to take us up to 95% of our capacity on our water department. And I hate that it's been sitting since I've moved here, but it was sitting, like you had said, vacant long before any of us were, you know, on this planet. And so, yeah, I don't want the tax burden to just continue to fall on the residential property owners in the city. And the last part is, like you had said, Steve, it's just, I look at it and it just looks like another development. It's not, there's not a ton exciting about it. It doesn't look like a place I'm going to go to, you know, stroll around and visit restaurants because they're not going to be there. They might be out on the street. So I'll, you know, go and park, but I don't see myself like enjoying that area. And that's just me. And those are the only comments I really have on it.
I'm just going to piggyback on Jonathan, since this is in our ward, and we've kind of talked about it, talked with constituents about it. I'm with Jonathan 110%. I'm not comfortable giving away our last piece of commercial property in that area. He had said it before with the berm back there. What does it hide? You got 40-foot buildings back there, so you're still going to see these monstrosities of buildings back there. And to just looking at it, it looks like residential is just going to be sandwiched between all of this. And take a bird's eye view of the city, there isn't anything that looks anything like that. It's just not Lockport, in my opinion, at all. And I'm with Jonathan, play the long game on this, and let's sit and see what the future holds. Obviously, big box is gone, but something is going to pop up here in the future.
I did, thank you guys. I did want to go, just hear everybody out. For, against it, it's all good, but I would just like everybody to speak out their thoughts.
Next.
Thanks, Jonathan.
And as long as all the little questions are out. If there's any outstanding questions before we get to our thoughts on the project.
May I?
Well, wait, you have a question?
Okay, I was going to dovetail on his, but I'll hold it. Go ahead.
Okay.
No, go, Joe.
So I answered some of, thank you. I had answered some of the response that I got. And thanks, Pat, for you responding to the one email. I had some phone calls today. And one concern, which I don't think it really will affect, they wanted to know how that would be in competition with the downtown area. And I don't know that really plays into it, correct?
No.
No,
Because,
I mean,
they said, worked so hard to get the downtown all up and going, and how would that affect, what was happening at the Lockport Square?
So they're different animals. You know, part of what makes Lockport successful is our urban feel in a suburban setting, and our downtown is a big piece of that. I think this community proposal here is kind of a neighborhood amongst itself, and it could be seen as a bookend between our downtown and 355, and you've got kind of a higher density thing going on where I think you can walk to some commercial things, and people, some of the imagery I saw from the Garrett product looked very urban in itself, so it's good that we've heard a lot of that discussion. So again, downtown is different. I mean, other towns are trying to replicate our downtowns with fake downtowns, so, but I think part of Lockport's success is that, you know, we do have that, and it is its own area, and all the other neighborhoods enjoy visiting it, so.
And one other quick concern one had was, as our seniors, well, as more people become seniors, they're also looking for type of housing for, you know, for like either assisted living or a 55 and older community, not quite like Lago Vista, but more of a community, you know, gated community for seniors 55 and older, or assisted living. We don't have really anything to offer those seniors with, you know, that need assistance and graduate to a different level if they need to.
Some of that, if you talk to Highland Ridge, I can't remember, Lance, if it was like a third of their product were people that were older, right? They were downsizing, they wanted to be close to their grandkids. So I think the rentals of Redwood is more of a, I don't want to call it a senior restricted or anything, but it tends to be people that are a little bit older in their careers and lives, and I think rentals in particular kind of behoove that. So I think senior living is a product we need here in Lockport, and there are developers talking to Lance and I about other locations, so I think that is something the service area needs, but that's not part of this proposal. So.
Okay.
Yeah, I think there's probably plenty of senior living, but not necessarily affordable senior living.
Yeah.
That's my
Yeah.
I guess I'm going. My opinion on all this is, as a business owner, I look at this and I think, yes, this is awesome. All this people are coming in, and it's going to be more money, more revenue. But as a resident, I think there is a need for affordable senior housing and affordable housing for young families. I just don't see that here. There's certain parts of this I really do like. I don't have a problem with the hotel being where it's at. I do think that people who do live here will walk to the other areas and will enjoy the Popeyes or whatever is out there. But I just think that we should try to look at the problems that we have with affordable senior housing and affordable housing. So that's what I want to say.
Yeah, I would offer, there was a affordable senior housing developer that was interested in the property a year or two ago that we had talked to. They dropped out because the state funding went away. So typically for an affordable senior housing, they have to integrate a capital stack, meaning the money that they're going to use to build it, via state low-income housing tax credit funds, as well as a couple other federal funds that go with that. They typically can't build what we all want and charge the rents that are reflective of that affordability component of it without those federal and state dollars. And when they were interested, when they were looking at it, the allotments were supposed to be coming out in August of last year. Ultimately, they did not, and they're kind of like the cannabis things. They come out as a lottery, so you have to submit your plan, you have to submit your proposal, and I don't want to speak for Jenko Group, but I would suggest that if this had R4 zoning, even with a special use for retail on the first floor, that if they got a senior developer that wanted to build something similar to an apartment development, they would gladly accept that as meeting the intent of the concept, and I would probably agree that that is consistent with the intent of the concept plan itself. So I don't want to say that we're precluding seniors from ever being here or a senior developer from building something here. It's just not specifically represented on this plan. because that's not who they had interested in originally.
I understand what you're saying. I just, and it's a tough thing, because I would almost want the assurance that, yeah, this is what's coming in, but from what you're saying is, it's hard to get.
And honestly, with any commercial development, I can't assure who's going to be in any of them. And there's all types of things that a chicken exclusion that somebody sues somebody over that get in the way of us getting absolute assurance of the specific tenant or the specific type of product until somebody is willing to put money down on the property and invest money in development plans to present to the city. It's kind of what a developer wants. So, same kind of thing, except in the reverse. A developer wants assurance that what they're going to propose is going to be consistent with the concept that was approved by all of you, as opposed to having it the opposite way, where they don't have any assurance or any knowledge to be able to invest tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars in engineering drawings and architectural designs and things like that, only to be denied when they step to the podium.
Any other thoughts,
You good?
Steve?
No, I'm good.
Thank you.
I'd like to go back to something Jonathan said. Sales tax does not help the high school.
No.
So in March, there's going to be a very large referendum, millions of dollars to rehab the school. So buying hamburgers, hot dogs, whatever, is not going to help that effort.
Correct.
The only thing that's going to help that is if we add more people to the tax roll to put money into the tax coffer to offset those costs. People say all the time, what are you going to do about my tax bill? City of Lockport's like 9% of your tax bill. The other taxing bodies make up 66% of it. So here's an opportunity to add properties to the tax roll that are going to help a broader group of people instead of buying, sandwiches and stuff like that. So that was my only comment to you, Jonathan, in terms about that.
And what I'll say back to that is, a sandwich shop isn't going to roll onto the property, sell sandwiches, and then roll off at the end of the day. Like, those are improvements to the property too. So with a commercial property, you're getting sales tax and the property tax, because they're all paying property tax for the improvement on the property.
Right, every building pays property tax.
I understand that, but the footprint of the tax times 200.
Sure, because they're all more parking, it's more.
I mean, the city of Chicago must make an immense amount of money because they have property tax stocked on top of property tax on top of. So thank you. So that was, in terms of adding more people to the body to pay into it, would relieve the tax burden for those of us who are.
Yeah, except here, there is a rub with that, but I'll wait till, I will.
Question for staff real quick on that. The referendum is going on the ballot, correct? Or is that something?
Correct.
Yes.
Okay, so that's up to the voters to decide. That's not our decision to decide.
I completely understand that. I agree. That's not our fight to fight. So I'm just saying in terms of where.
Well, you
we
just
get
brought
Lisa
that up, so it
dollars,
sounds
where
like you're
she
saying
puts
it's
up.
our burden as a council to somehow fix the school district's issue.
You're right. Yeah, and I was just more concerned about where our tax dollars were coming, and maybe we turned a blind eye to that for the moment. You had mentioned about the build-out, and I don't know if I heard it right or wrong, in terms of you were looking to start the townhomes right away, or were you looking to start the apartments right away?
The townhomes, actually, we had a planning session yesterday and talking about that very issue that you were talking about, and we're undecided, undecided at this point, but we're looking like we might rearrange them slightly, as was mentioned. But townhomes, our next step is re-subdivision and rezoning in the annexation agreement. And we're preparing subdivision plat as we speak and hoping to submit in February for that. So that will immediately follow. We're hoping to follow shortly after that one gets approved, April or whenever, follow with a submittal for the townhomes. And because we're trying to get, a few months in the fall, maybe, if things go right, to start. We'll also be coming in with the apartments, we hope, in the summer. So, and the hotel's ready to go as soon as we get change in financing.
I got one last thing. Today, we had a luncheon with the Heritage Corridor, and it's pretty amazing that the publicity that the whole Route 66 gets. And it's quite a tourist attraction, which would lend, reason to have more hotels. You've got Silver Cross down the road. You've got people coming into town, no place to stay. So having a hotel in the mix of things, I think, is a great idea, and there is a need for that. I don't know how dead set you are in terms of having an extended stay versus you can mix, I guess, extended with non-extended, but typically the extended have, like, kitchens in them.
That's basically it, yeah.
Okay.
You can stay overnight on an extended stay.
Okay.
You don't want to compete with a product that's exactly the same as what you have. So it's slightly different.
It just sounds like the current hotel owner had wished he had put 5 more stories on the building, so.
It's me.
Oh, see that? You
That's
put
why
an
we-
addition on it, I guess.
That's why we
Raise the
want a
roof.
second hotel.
Okay.
We
You'd be
hit-
competing with yourself then.
That one is up to the inch in the height limit.
Oh, okay. All right.
All good, Pat, or
I'm good.
any other thoughts? Jared, what's your feelings?
First of all, I really want to thank the Janko Group and everybody else, because this is not hitting us for the first time. This has been going on for 2 to 3 years, 3 years or something, and it all goes back to when that first came with the proposal, and then Lance met everybody on the council at that time. I think probably 4 of us here, and the other 4 are gone. But at that time, they said, nothing's happening here at Lockport Square. What are your thoughts? They want to propose residential, they want to propose this, a combination. Are you up for that? And I was at that time. I don't see anything happening at Lockport Square. And I said, okay, put something together and come back and tell me. And Lance can correct me if I'm wrong, but 8 of the council members said, yes, Lance, go forward. This is what we want. And I think that's where Joanne may have been, don't want to speak for Joanne, but I think maybe that's where she was a little confused at the last meeting, saying, wait, I thought we already approved this. Because in a way, we kind of gave guidance to you saying, yes, this is what we want. Go ahead, plan it together and come back. So they did it. They did their homework, and I really appreciate, and now it's more like, do I like the look of it? Do I like what they put together? Because I said, yes, I'll take in residential, I'll take in hopefully a new restaurant, I'll take in the hotel and more commercial. They put it exactly what we wanted. Now, is the layout perfect? I don't know. That's for people to like. But I, in particular, do like the layout. I prefer the apartments back and the townhomes back. And I can't say just because it's looking over, at a warehouse behind me, that I can't speak for that. But I've told many people, I sat outside of Sagebrook when they did their ribbon cutting and talked to the lady and said, we're looking at 355. I'm going, who the heck would ever want to live here? And she says, you'll see who wants to live here. And Sagebrook filled out in 3 years, or whatever, probably less than that, it seems like. So I don't question the people when they say, if I put these townhomes up, these apartments, they will sell. I trust their belief. I had 2 realtors saying they'll sell. So it's like, well, what do you want to speak for the residents? It's like, well, I'm also speaking for over 1,000 new residents that want to come to Lockport and live in Lockport and be part of our town. And they are going to spend their money in Lockport. And they're going to dine at, hopefully, commercial, a new restaurant there and all the other existing commercial spots we have in front. I don't think commercial's returning. That's my own thought. I think we're going to struggle to fill the commercial that's out there. So I'm taking advantage of what we have. I see everything good about the plan, and I support it.
Thanks, Jared. Christina or Darren, what's your thoughts?
I like the plan. I liked the plan when I first saw it. I like it for the financials, if it's going to add add quite a bit of property tax, new property tax, to all of our various taxing bodies, then it takes the burden, not only take the burden, you know, whatever that percentage is off of my burden for those exact same properties, exact same governmental bodies. So I support it.
Joanne, what are your thoughts?
So, you know, I thought I was for the whole thing, but a lot of questions have come up, and, you know, I'm at a bypass. I do not know what to do at this point, to tell you the truth.
That's all
I'm
right.
totally-
You've
I'm
got
totally-
a couple weeks to digest. That's all right.
You know.
Okay.
I-
And Renee, what are your, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I was just saying, if you're not,
Yeah,
Okay.
you know, I thought I knew, based on what we had asked Lance to do, he came back with an idea of what can happen. And now, you know, there's so many questions, and people have actually, you know, reached out and said they're really scared about, you know, the way we're thinking about what we're putting in there. So I'm totally confused.
Do you have a feeling that they're afraid of like a Section 8 kind of thing?
Can we not even bring that up?
No, it really.
Why, Renee?
Because everybody goes to Section 8 as soon as there's any type of rentals, and I don't know, I think that's just a touchy subject.
Well, because I believe if we set the price to be a certain price, and if you do get Section 8 in there, aren't they vetted? Or am I just naive? Do they just give Section 8?
They get a voucher to supplement their income, which would be just as same as an affordable senior housing, just that they're not seniors. They may be a young family that, you know, they're struggling. So Section 8, and they do go through interviews with the landlords and with the state and so forth and so on, and if it's abused, I mean, so everybody runs to Section 8 and, oh gosh, it's gonna.
So I don't think it's a bad thing.
No.
Okay, that's my point,
Yeah.
is it's not a bad thing, it's
And they are
nothing should be
protected
afraid
class,
of.
too.
Right,
They are a protected class.
yeah, because,
We're all one mortgage payment away.
yeah, I think we're on the same page on that.
all right, what are your thoughts, Renee?
So my thoughts are, I'm okay with the design currently. Whether down the road, I know it's a concept plan, there may be some tweaking, there may be a little, you know, if in a certain apartment complex comes, or certain townhomes don't have the facade that we do have some decisions going forward. This is the concept plan, and that's why it's a concept plan. As far as rentals, I've been in many rental buildings, Block 37, Marquee, where they're a community within themselves. They have a doggy washing station in the center, they have their own track going around it. They never even have to leave their building. They have a small pharmacy. I mean, so depending on what the apartment is, we don't have to just right away jump to, oh, it's, you know, it's gonna be apartments. A lot of people, especially the younger people, are going towards the apartments, and they have been for a long time. That's why Highland Ridge is full, Redwood's full, and Redwood does tend to rent to the older people just because of the layout. The younger people like the townhome look and so forth. I'm okay with the extended stay. We've got Silver Cross down the road, that there's interns, there's traveling nurses, I think that there could be a good demand for that, for a possible longer-term rental, if someone has to come for a month or so. So I'm okay with the design the way it is, but of course, if down the road, there's some tweaking in going on, whether, you know, the lots have to be a little wider, but I'm okay with the way it is now.
Okay. So, you know, for me, I don't doubt all those apartments will get filled up. I don't doubt all the townhomes will sell. I have my doubts on the commercial outlots filling up with some of the restrictions that are on there and the fact that they're hidden, but for me, this is more of a case of just because you can, doesn't mean you should. When we first, you know, when Jim and Gary Janko were talking about this some years ago and the struggle because of all the big boxes going away. They floated a couple things, and one of them was residential. And I'm like, yeah, dude, it's our last commercial lot. And I've got all this outstanding residential that's already zoned and is not built out yet. We're already obligated to those things. I said, why would I get rid of our last piece of viable commercial property for that? And, they kept pressing as they wanted to get rid of it. And I said, you know what? Show us something extraordinary, right? I mean, I'm an outside-the-box thinker. I'm open to having a conversation. It's like, that's where I brought up, what about an actual mixed-use building, right? What about, creating some kind of, community courtyard when you came in here? We had all kind of thoughts that, show something that's unique. And, my frustration has been, I don't feel like this is unique at all. I think it's just a subdivision behind a couple outlots. I do think the hotel's in a terrible spot. If we're gonna, why forego any commercial opportunities? I'd rather have the hotel somewhere else. But for me, it's like, I don't think people fully understand how difficult it was to assemble this parcel. I mean, to get all the property owners on board, to get a piece of highway commercial that was developable. That's why across the street's so difficult. The one doctor in California, you can never even get him on the phone, right? Other guy bought something on tax sale and almost killed the whole development over there. Jerry owns the house right across from the big exit, still wants $2 million, right? So it's assembling all this is near impossible. And the fact that it was done, and I think it's special. And I think to just throw in the towel on it because they can't get some big boxes back there. I hear what you're saying, JR, about commercial's dead, but the world changes every 15 or 20 years. It was shopping malls, and it was power strip centers. Before that, all that, it was the Wells Fargo wagon, right? I mean, it changes all the time. And the idea that, we feel like, well, we've reached the end of retail. It's Amazon forever until Armageddon. Things will change. Or other uses. I mean, we talked about putting the hockey rink in here for a while. It just didn't work out. I think they felt the property was cheaper over by the Bodome, and that's fine. But there are other options. But once this happens, it's forever. And we don't even have the Serenity, or the Springs across the street even built out yet. I'd rather see how it plays out. We're under no obligation to change the zoning for these folks. I don't think they brought something extraordinary. I thought they brought something quite ordinary. I don't think it's worth getting rid of the commercial that was there, I think, because that potential's gone forever. And then as far as the property tax goes, Pat, you got to remember, man, we have almost 1,200 homes that are all, could go in, whether it's down south, there's some other unannexed properties that people are kicking the tires on that might be better because we can get another access road built. There's a lot of property, so that those numbers that you saw on here for property tax are going to happen, just not here. They're already slated for other places that we have obligations for. Please.
My understanding is, there's a lot of property there that needs to be developed, right?
Doesn't need to.
Well,
but it has zoning.
It has the ability to. Even if in a week, 2 weeks from now, we say, you know what, let's start the process. We're a year away from having a rooftop, having a homeowner, having somebody on the tax roll, 2 years or more, and then 3 years beyond that.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of these other properties that you're saying, they could be developed, they could be 3 to 5 years beyond that. So if you're saying we're going to hold off and wait, I mean, look at this property. It's been like that for as long as I've lived here. And, it's always something, it's always something, it's always something. When do you stop saying it's always something and move forward in something that's going to generate revenues for all the taxing bodies, not just the city of Lockport?
Yeah, sure. And again, all those other housing developments and we've been building houses. And when Nora came up last week and was like, oh, I'm really glad to see Lockport's, considering this because we need more housing. It's like, yeah, we've been on that train, man. We've built a lot of houses in the last 10 years. A lot of apartments, a lot of houses, townhomes. We did Redwood, we did Highlands, Silo Bend. It's not like we've been not doing that. And so, and while, yes, sales tax, is less than what can be made here, I think this is where it goes back to, it's not just about money. Sometimes it's about the services that people want to see. I guarantee when all these people come in, they're going to be like, how come there's not a better place to eat, right? Because then they're going to have the same complaints everybody else does. And maybe something will come in, maybe it won't, but I feel like ultimately people do want some commercial services. And once this is gone, Pat, it's gone forever. And you're not going to be assembling this somewhere else in town.
And I'll make one last comment. People want to have the money to go buy a hamburger and a hot dog, and their personal finances come first before it extends out of their driveway to go drive someplace and eat. So if there's a way for me to get tax relief that I can afford.
Okay, but that actually, thank you for reminding me, because that's something that, here's the reality of the way taxes work in Illinois. We have been diligent about lowering our tax rate every year. We get new growth, and we're like, great, we can lower this tax rate. And what ends up happening is everybody still pays more in taxes. And it's like, how the hell did that happen? It's because the assessor says, well, you had all this growth, and so the state formula says I have to raise the assessment on your house. So all of a sudden, we're paying more anyway. All of our work to add development to lower our taxes has been a game. Because I pay more now than when I did when I started, even with all the development. And so it's not like you're going to get this big relief. No one's going to get a big relief from this, Pat. Your taxes are probably still going to go up.
I understand that, but from the standpoint of, from what you just said, it almost sounded like, well, let's let our town start deteriorating so our property values go down so our taxes become lower.
Come on, Pat. You've seen how hard I have worked to change that.
I'm being a little bit.
Then don't say it.
Well, it almost leads to that in terms of, yeah, everybody's property values. We're building a nice city. We have nice homes, and unfortunately, cost of building them has gone up, which increases in the price. So there's a lot of elements that go into our assessments going higher. The thing that Lisa and the crew have done is try to get the multiplier down.
Yeah, and I think they've done a great job. We've done what we could. I don't write the state law that the assessor says, I got a formula here, and it just goes up because of development that happens. But saying that, we're gonna get relief by building this so we can go buy, a hamburger, that's not really accurate. I think ultimately, it's still the last place really to build anything of substance. And again, once it's gone forever. I'd rather see how some of these other developments play out across the street. Let's see, I know that the Silo Bend is looking to expand, and that'll bring in the homes and those values you're looking at for property tax. My piece to you would be, there is no rush. Again, it's been empty for, you say, oh man, it's been empty for as long as you've been here. We're not trying to develop everything in town just to develop for the development's sake. It's not always prudent. Sometimes it's having a little patience. And then I guess, and that's fine. Lastly, I will say this. If the council, because I don't agree with it, if it's a tie, I'll vote against it. But if the council is set on doing it, my recommendations are the stiff. I don't see rewarding with a stiff for failure, right? The stiff was about getting retail in there. That it didn't happen. So now we're giving all this residential. That should be enough motivation for anybody to build their hamburger place right next to it. They don't need stiff money for it. we're just going to say, hey, we have, 600 residents within walking distance, that's plenty of stiff in my mind. I would ask you guys to consider that. I do think the hotel placement stinks. I'd rather reserve that whole strip for as much commercial as possible. That would be what I would say for those who want to push it forward. So, okay. Anybody got any final thoughts? Okay. Thank you very much. I appreciate all the discussion and the thoughts and the diligence from everyone, and staff as well.
So we'll have it as an action item on February 7th?
Yes. I don't have any cards, so people can talk at open comments, but I don't have any specific cards. So next on the agenda is, that's it. So any new business? We do have open floor comment time if anybody wants to say anything. It's a small time limit, but otherwise, you guys know how to get a hold of us all, but it's open if anybody wants to, just raise your hand. Okay, so we're looking for a motion to adjourn then. Did I miss somebody?
Yeah, it's going on action.
Want to say something? The mayor's giving a few minutes.
Ben said.
Look, I did kind of want to leave it open for residents on this one, Nora, so.
Oh, just real quick, I really just want to say, we agree with you. We want to see more housing, but the fact that you're being intentional about this, you're not just trying to put something there because you have it. You've done a good job of creating diverse housing stock and developing over the last, couple decades. So, Lockport in a lot of ways is an example. So as much as I would love to see the multifamily housing and addressing, the working people that are moving to the area, the fact that you're taking it slow and you're not just building something just to build it, we can understand that, and we do hope to continue to be part of this discussion and to do a little presentation on source of income.
And I appreciate that you're going to work with our
Thank you.
folks.
Steve, can I make one last comment?
Yes.
Not that I ever have anything to say. I would ask to our audience that is watching this, this has been now, or will be 4 weeks by the time this comes up for vote. If you have an opinion and you've watched this, you've watched the presentation, and you have comments about it, please reach out to us. That's what we're here for. Because if we don't hear from you as to yay, nay, or whatever, it becomes, well, I'm not hearing any pushback on it, so I guess everybody's in agreement. So our phone numbers, our email addresses are easily accessible. If you have concerns, comments, please reach out to us. Because what I don't want to have happen is have this go one way or the other, and then 2 weeks later, they're like, why are they doing this? And so please, give us your input. It helps us make better decisions based on what you, the City of Lockport residents, want. So please, I beg you to give us feedback.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Pat. Well, if there's nothing else, then we'll do a motion to adjourn. Pat, seconded by Jonathan, all in favor? Okay, thank you.